Are you having a hard time figuring out what to get Dad for Father's Day? You should check out Row 1 Brand's Vintage Pictorum Gallery. They have America's best sports art. With over 7,200 historic sports prints, you're assured to find something unique for Dad this Father's Day. Instead of a boring old tie, get him a historic baseball photo taken by Henry High Sandom at the historic Polo Grounds Stadium in New York City during the 1894 Temple Cup. Or, if he's an NFL buff, check out the 1963 vintage NFL poster. These are so good looking that you'll be amazed how they turn out. Shop now at sportshistorynetwork.com/row1 and save 15% off your order.
Our trip down the NFL jersey memory lane takes us to jersey number 84 in this episode, and we have some great athletes to talk about in NFL history. We have these athletes and a top 10 list of the best coming up in just a moment.
This is the Pigskin Daily History Dispatch, a podcast that covers the anniversaries of American football events throughout history on a day-to-day basis. Your host, Darren Hayes, is podcasting from America's North Shore to bring you the memories of the gridiron, one day at a time. So as we come out of the tunnel of the Sports History Network, let's take the field and go no huddle through the portal of positive gridiron history with pigskindispatch.com.
This podcast is part of the Sports History Network, your headquarters for the yesteryear of your favorite sport. You can learn more at sportshistorynetwork.com.
Hello, my football friends. This is Darren Hayes once again. Welcome to the Pig Pen. We are here with pigskindispatch.com, and we are bringing you jersey number 84, the greatest players that wore the 84 jersey in the NFL's history, 101 plus years. And boy, do we really have some great athletes to talk about in this discussion. And we're going to, by the end of this, give you a top 10 list of who we feel are the 10 greatest players that wore that number 84. But to give us a head start, we're going to consult the wise words of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And they have 4 members that are enshrined in Canton, Ohio, that wore the number 84. And they are Randy Moss, Andre Reed, Shannon Sharpe, and Andy Robustelli. Now, some great athletes there, and we have some other gentlemen that are probably going to be seen with a bronze bust in Canton one of these days real soon, we hope. But till now, we're going to talk about these fellas. The first one I think we want to talk about is Randy Moss. Yes, Randy Moss, the lanky speedster, wide receiver from Marshall University. He was born on February 13th, 1977, and Moss was a first-round pick by the Minnesota Vikings in the 1998 NFL Draft. And as a rookie, he caught 69 passes for 1,313 yards and led the NFL with 17 touchdowns, per the Pro Football Hall of Fame's website. In 2003, he had his best year ever during his career when he hauled in 111 catches for 1,632 yards. He later moved on to play with the New England Patriots, and he was all set what he did, an NFL record with 23 touchdown receptions in 2007 when he teamed up with Tom Brady. Yeah, he earned All-Pro honors 4 times and went to 6 different Pro Bowls as he retired with 156 total touchdowns and 15,292 yards receiving. And he was definitely an early candidate into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in the 2018 class. And Randy Moss, all 2000s decade team, 1998 AP Offensive Rookie of the Year, and the 2007 Comeback Player of the Year in the NFL. And you just can't say enough about this guy, setting those records, dominating 23 touchdowns, led the NFL in 2007, like we said, 15 touchdowns, led the league in 2000, 17 touchdowns as a rookie in 1998, all leading the NFL. In 2009, he came back again with 13 touchdowns, led the NFL. So many times leading the NFL in scoring and touchdowns, and he was just a beast out there to try to contend with the DBs going down the field. And that is why Randy Moss is going on early into our list as our number 1 prospect in our top 10 tonight. Now, our next player we want to talk about, well, we've talked to him a little bit before. We've talked about him a little bit before. I wish we could talk to him. And that is Shannon Sharpe. Shannon Sharpe is the Pro Bowl Hall of Fame tight end that played for the Denver Broncos and the Baltimore Ravens. Sharpe earned the right to play in the Pro Bowl 8 times and was voted first team All-Pro 4 different times in his 14 years in the league. It's quite amazing that he was not picked until the 7th round of the 1990 NFL Draft as the 192nd overall pick in that draft. Shannon played with a chip on his shoulder, and he proved the experts wrong as he played like a first-round talent his entire career. The Pro Football Hall of Fame's website says that he caught 815 balls for 10,060 yards and 62 scores, all of which were records for the tight end position when he retired. Now, since then, we've had Tony Gonzalez go by him a little bit, and possibly Antonio Gates may have also. I'm not sure about that, but definitely Gonzalez did. And the gifted tight end was also a standout at Savannah State University, and Shannon Sharpe played in those 8 Pro Bowls and helped the Broncos to win a couple Super Bowls, Super Bowl 32 and 33, as well as earning a ring with the Ravens in Super Bowl 35 for the title. So what a great player Shannon Sharpe was as well. And we talked to him about him a little bit in jersey number 81, a little bit in jersey number 82, but he didn't wear those jerseys for very long. But this number 84 jersey, well, he wore it for 12 seasons, just like Randy Moss wore it for 15 seasons, and that's why he's going as a number 2 pick on our list. Now, another player we want to talk about, we said Andre Reed was in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and they said that he wore that jersey number 84 as well. Well, he was more known as a jersey number 83, which we talked about him. He wore that jersey for 15 seasons as a member of the Buffalo Bills. Well, 84 he wore as one season, his final season in the NFL, year 2000, with the Washington Redskins. And he wasn't really known as, he wasn't the same player that late in his career. It's his 16th season in the NFL. Still a very formidable receiver that you had to put some bodies on, but he had nowhere near the numbers that he had in his first few seasons. Only had 1 touchdown as wearing number 84, and yardage was well off. But he was 7-time Pro Bowler when he wore 83, and he's on that list for the 83s. I'm not sure he's going to make it on the 84s, only wearing it for 1 season, but definitely a player that we wanted to talk about here. Andy Robustelli is another Hall of Famer, the 4th and final Hall of Famer that wore the 84 that we're talking about. And he is a 7-time Pro Bowler, 6-time All-Pro, 2-time NFL champion, and 1962 Burt Bell Award winner. And Andy Robustelli wore the 84 jersey for 5 seasons, so a little bit of a significant time that he wore this in. And Andy, his numbers were nothing glamorous compared to today's receivers, but he was a defensive end, but he had 52.5 sacks during his career, and of course those are the numbers that not recognized by the NFL yet, but they are the numbers that John Turney and Nick Webster, we'll be talking to John Turney in our 85 jerseys about how him and Nick came up with these numbers, but they got those numbers, sack numbers, prior to 1981, back to the early 60s, into the Pro Football Reference, and that's where we're getting this number from. But that's all Nick and John's work, 52.5 sacks for Andy Robustelli. And he played with the Los Angeles Rams from 1951 to 1955, and then became a member of the New York Giants from 56 to 1964. So those golden years of pro football when it really started coming along here. But what an awesome player he is, and those 5 seasons that he wore with the Rams were quite substantial. And I think we're going to put him on our standby list here. We'll come back and talk about Andy Robustelli possibly making our list. I think he's got a good outside chance here of making that list. So now we're going to our players that are not yet in the Hall of Fame class. And the first one that we would like to talk about is Roddy White. And Roddy White is an interesting character himself. Great wide receiver that played most of his career with the Atlanta Falcons. In fact, all of his career with the Atlanta Falcons, 2005 through 2015. So he played fairly recently, and he made it into 4 Pro Bowls and was 1 time as an All-Pro wearing that number 84. So a total of, 11 seasons wearing that, 171 games, 808 receptions, 10,863 yards gained by receptions, 13.4 yards per reception, 63 touchdowns during his career. And Roddy White is another one that we're going to put back on our standby list here. We'll see if he can make it with those numbers. Pretty good numbers, but let's see who else we got here. How about Gary Clark? Gary Clark, another great name from the past of the NFL legends here. And Gary, also a wide receiver. He played for Ward 84 his entire career, 8 seasons with the Washington Redskins starting in 1985. Then he went to the Arizona Phoenix franchise, was a Cardinal for 2 seasons, and one final year as a Miami Dolphin in 1995. And this gentleman, he also put up some great numbers. 167 games, 699 receptions, 10,856 yards, a 15.5 yards per reception average, 65 touchdowns. Very, very similar to our last proposed candidate that we were just talking about, Roddy White. And we're going to put Gary Clark on that standby list also, but definitely substantial. And we'll see where he goes. Now, here's one that's near and dear to my heart here. Antonio Brown wore 84 for his entire career with the Steelers. We know that he left the Steelers a few years ago. He played with the Patriots a little bit, Tampa Bay last year in that Super Bowl winning year, but he wore 81 and 17 respectively with those teams. But 84 was his number with the Pittsburgh Steelers, 9 seasons with that number. And for his career, he has 139 games, but listen to these numbers: 886 receptions, 11,746 yards, 13.3 yards per reception, 79 touchdowns, and that's just some tremendous numbers. 7 Pro Bowls, 4 times as an All-Pro, Super Bowl championship, and all 2010s a decade team with those Steelers. So he really paired up well with Mr. Ben Roethlisberger. And Antonio Brown is another one that we're going to put down. Those are some great numbers, but we're going to put him on our standby list here also. Now, another great receiver we want to talk about is Joey Galloway. And boy, he'd have a great career. Came in with the Seattle Seahawks in 1995's NFL draft. Played with the Seahawks for 5 seasons. Went to the Dallas Cowboys for 4 years after that. Then became a member of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for 5 seasons after that. And then a 1-year stint with New England and Washington, retiring with Washington in 2010 after that season. 701 receptions in 198 games, 10,950 yards, 15.6 yards per receptions, and 77 TDs for the speedster Joey Galloway. And another one that we're just going to put a little mark by, and we'll come back to him in our deliberations, see where he shakes out. Herman Moore, another great wide receiver, wearing this 84. Boy, you got a really good all-time greats team here with these 84s. But Herman, he wore the jersey for 11 seasons as a member of the Detroit Lions, and he just was brilliant in his career wearing that 84 with the Lions. Had one final year where he wore the number 82 with the New York Giants, but 11 years as a Detroit Lion. And in 146 games in his career, 670 receptions, 9,174 yards, 13.7 yards per reception, 62 touchdowns, 4 Pro Bowls, and 3 times as an All-Pro for Mr. Herman Moore. And that definitely gives you some great standing with the 84's greatest of all time. But we'll put a check by him. We'll come back to him near the end. Eric Martin, another great player we want to talk about here. And Eric, and during his career, he played wide receiver, and he was with the New Orleans Saints from 1985 through the 93 season, and in 1994 was a member of the Kansas City Chiefs. And he made it to 1 Pro Bowl during his career. In 153 games, 553 receptions, 8,161 yards, 14.8 yards per catch, and 49 touchdowns. Doesn't really have the numbers that some of these other folks we just talked about have, but definitely one that we'll take a look at when we come back at the end here. Now, we talked about Shannon Sharpe earlier, that's in the Hall of Fame. Well, he had a brother that played in the NFL as well, a very famous brother, and that's Sterling Sharpe, a wide receiver with the Green Bay Packers. Had his career shortened a little bit because of some injuries that prevented him from playing, but what a brilliant career he had during his time. 1988 with the Packers all the way to the 94 season. Was one of Brett Favre's favorite targets during that time. In 112 games he played, 595 receptions, 8,134 yards, 13.7 yards per catch, 65 touchdowns, 5 Pro Bowls, and 3 times as an All-Pro. Definitely significant in 7 seasons to make 5 Pro Bowls and 3 All-Pro seasons, 65 touchdowns. That is pretty darn good. He led the league in 1989 with 90 receptions. Led it again in 1992 with 108 receptions and 1,461 yards. 93, 112 receptions led the league. And boy, he just had some great things. That 92 season that we told you about, he was averaging 91.3 yards per game and led the entire NFL that season. So definitely a force to be reckoned with and a great star. Wore the number 84 for 7 seasons, and we'll take a look at him when we get to our deliberations at the end. Another guy we want to talk about is Art Powell. Art Powell, what a great and brilliant career he had as well. He was another that played multiple positions. He played a little bit of defensive back, a little bit of wide receiver, a little bit of split end. He played from 1959, where he came in the league with the Philadelphia Eagles, and then he was a member of the New York Titans, the precursor of the New York Jets in the AFL for 3 seasons, and then switched over in that AFL to the Oakland Raiders team for 4 years, then played with Buffalo in the AFL, and then came to the NFL 1968 with the Minnesota Vikings. And he had 4 Pro Bowls in his career, 2 times as an All-Pro, and Art wore the jersey for 8 seasons, jersey number 84, and just a brilliant career. 479 receptions, 8,046 yards, 16.8 yards per catch, pretty good there. 81 touchdowns, monster years that he had for those 7-10 years in the league. Boy, he is another one that's going to be hard to keep off that list, but we'll see where he shakes out. And then we have some names of some great players, like Jack Snow and Bill Stanfill and Joe Robb and Carroll Dale and TJ Houshmandzadeh. TJ wore the jersey for 11 seasons. And just taking a peek at his numbers, powered by Pro Football Reference, 1 Pro Bowl in his career. He had 44 touchdowns, 627 receptions, 7,237 yards, but substantial, but maybe not making our list here. Alfred Jenkins, Paul Wiggins, Brent Jones, another great San Francisco 49ers player, very famously had some big catches with those 49ers teams from Joe Montana. He had 4 Pro Bowls and 3 Super Bowl championships. 417 yards, 5,195 yards as a tight end, 12.5 yards per reception, 33 TDs. And that was from the tight end position. Not too shabby for Mr. Brent Jones. And we'll see if he can make it onto our list and crack this lineup that we have here. And rounding out our list is Bob Trumpy and Chris Chambers, who each, along with Burt Jones, wore that number 84 for 10 seasons each. And again, to some of those other significant ones, TJ Houshmandzadeh, 11 seasons. Joe Robb with 11 seasons. Jack Snow, 11 seasons. So a great list of some fantastic players. Hayward Jeffries wore the jersey 84 for 9 seasons. Webster Slaughter, 13 years. Let's take a look at some of Webster Slaughter's numbers on Pro Football Reference. He definitely had an impact as a player in the NFL as a wide receiver. 2 Pro Bowls, 563 receptions, 8,111 yards, 14.4 yards per catch, 44 TDs for Webster Slaughter. And his 13 seasons wearing that jersey 84. Buddy Dial, Bobby Ingram is on that list. Sean Jefferson, Gene Washington, Javon Walker, Jay Novacek, a great tight end with the Dallas Cowboys. Taking a peek at some of his numbers wearing that 84 jersey. He had 5 Pro Bowls, 1 time as an All-Pro, 422 receptions, 4,630 yards, 30 touchdowns, 11 yards per reception. Jay Novacek, that's some pretty hefty, lofty numbers there. With his 6 seasons wearing that number 84 jersey. So he will be tough to keep off that list as well. So now I think we need to go into some deliberations here and figure out these great players and who's going to be in our top 10. We already said that Randy Moss is in. We said that Sterling Sharpe is in with his 12 great seasons at the tight end position, wearing that number. Well, where do we go from there? Well, I think that we have to go to Mr. Antonio Brown. He's still going. He's still believe playing with the Patriots in this 2021 season. And, he definitely had 9 superior seasons at number 84, probably unmatched by almost anybody. Maybe Moss's first 9 seasons would be comparable, but wow, he was just off the charts with, featured with that Steelers offense they had with Ben Roethlisberger. He's going to go third on our list. Andy Robustelli, I'm going to go with the Hall of Famer. His 5 years were in number 84, very substantial, making those substantial sack numbers that he had on there and tackles that he had. Then we're going to go to Joey Galloway, another very productive speed demon wide receiver. Herman Moore, again, another great wide receiver. He'll go in as our 6th. Sterling Sharpe. He's going to join his brother on our greatest 84s top 10 list. Number 7. Gary Clark, I'm putting him at number 8. Roddy White at number 9. And Art Powell is going to round it off at number 10. But boy, between Art Powell and Brent Jones and Jay Novacek, those are some really tough competition there to figure out who we want to put on there. But I think we're going to go with the old-time player there and go with Art Powell and put him on our list. So that's our top 10 of the greatest NFL jersey number 84s. If you would like to get your feedback, if you agree, disagree, think we missed some players, think that maybe one of those guys we have on our top 10 list doesn't belong there and somebody else does, well, email us at pigskindispatch@gmail.com. We'll be sure to love to read what you have to say. We may even change our mind on a future podcast and change that list around based on your supporting evidence that why you think we made an error in that list. So we'd love to hear from you. We hope you follow us on social media. Twitter, we're at Pigskin Dispatch. Facebook, we have the Pigskin Dispatch page. We also show up on LinkedIn under the Darren Hayes banner. Make sure you look me up on there. And like I said, you email us, pigskindispatch@gmail.com. I will answer each and every email sent to me just like I always do. You can ask those that have emailed me. I have got right back to them and told them my responses and thanked them for their listenership and for their comments and contributions, because you, our listener, are the biggest asset that we have here on the Pigskin Dispatch, and we appreciate you and our readers on pigskindispatch.com. And also follow us on sportshistorynetwork.com. We are one of a couple dozen great sports podcasting ventures that are going on there at Sports History Network. It's very family friendly. Everybody in any age group can listen to it and get some enjoyment and some learning out of great sports history with the talent that we have under and our very great guests that we get on the shows too. And our sponsors are off the charts as well. So make sure you check that out. So until tomorrow, everybody, have a great gridiron day.
Hey, are you ready for some football? Some fantasy football? How about some daily fantasy football? Silly questions, right? Of course you are. You're ready to talk some smack and win some cash every Sunday, and Thursday, and Monday, and whenever there's football games. The Sports History Network invites you to play your daily fantasy football this season at ThriveFantasy.com. Thrive Fantasy offers hundreds of thousands, millions in cash every day on NBA, MLB, PGA golf, cricket, esports, and of course, NFL football. And just to get the 2021 NFL season started right, Thrive Fantasy is holding its $100,000 guaranteed contest with a $20,000 first prize. Sign up with Thrive Fantasy today to get a 100% match bonus on your first deposit for up to $100 in free daily fantasy football play. Visit sportshistorynetwork.com/thrive. That's THRIVE, or enter promo code SHN when depositing at the cashier. Join Thrive Fantasy today, earn cash prizes, and support great shows like this at the Sports History Network. Now that's a win-win-win situation for you to kick off your own NFL season.
That's all the football history we have today, folks. Join us back tomorrow for more of your football history. we invite you to check out our website, pigskindispatch.com, not only to see the daily football history, but to experience positive football with our many articles on the good people of the game, as well as our own football comic strip, Cleat Marks Comics. Pigskindispatch.com is also on social media outlets, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and don't forget the Pigskin Dispatch YouTube channel to get all of your positive football news and history. Special thanks to the talents of Mike and Gene Monroe, as well as Jason Neff for letting us use their music during our podcast.
This podcast is part of the Sports History Network, your headquarters for the yesteryear of your favorite sport. You can learn more at sportshistorynetwork.com.